Hello, my name is Janine Johnston. Welcome to the third in a series of lectures on the Old Testament. Today we will talk about some basic skills that will help you grasp some of the main ideas in this, the most famous book of all time, so that you can enjoy reading it and find treasures for your own life. Please be sure that you've already downloaded and printed a copy of the text of this lecture so that you can read as well as listen. And you will need to fill in the blanks, so keep a pen or pencil handy. In the first video in this series, we talked about the fact that the Old Testament is the foundation for understanding the whole Bible. In the second one, we looked at the contents and type of literature to be found in it. Now let's look at how to get something out of what we read. Here is one simple method that you can use. Don't hesitate to spend time practicing it. This method is to develop a habit of paying attention to every word, E-V-E-R-Y. Then ask yourself, is there an indication of something important here? A proof of something? Or a key to understanding something that I can use? As you practice, it will start to become second nature to ask questions and notice which ones are important in each instance. Do you know how detectives work? What do? They do everything possible to unravel a crime, to figure out who did something illegal. How do they do that? They seek out proof, indications, and keys to understanding. They must pay attention to every tiny detail. Now, imagine that you are a detective and you see the following. A window in a house is broken. The door is open. Something red is on the floor. You go into a side room and find that a body is lying on the bed. Do you have that picture in your mind? If you are a detective called to this scene, what do you need to do? You have to ask a lot of questions. What questions? What happened? W-H-A-T. Who did it? To whom? How? Where? When? W-H-E-N. Why? A smart detective will think also about what did not happen. When we read the Bible, we can ponder what is not written as well as what is written. That will help us better understand what we read. Both the detective and the person studying the Bible need to pay attention to the context, C-O-N-T-E-X-T. We cannot understand the meaning of one sentence if we do not read what was written before, B-E-F-O-R-E, and after, A-F-T-E-R, after it. These questions, who, W-H-O, to whom, when, what, where, how, and why, W-H-Y, help to expose a crime. They also help us understand the meaning of a book. The detective who only asks 3 questions and thinks that he understands it all is not a good investigator. What does that mean for us? We need to learn to ask questions. Q-U-E-S-T-I-O-N-S. Maybe most important of all as we read the Bible or any book are the questions we ask ourselves. What can we ourselves use, U-S-E, use from this? What do we want to strengthen or change in our thinking, in our values, in our actions? Without this final step, we don't gain much from our reading. It is the same with a detective. If he studies a crime and figures out who did it, his efforts are not worth much until he acts on them, ACTS, until he acts on them to arrest the criminal. We too need to act, ACT, on what we learn. Point 3. Now let's turn to historical events. How does what is written in the Old Testament fit into what we know of history? In antiquity, people thought that time was a circle. Winter, spring, summer, fall, and again winter. Seed time, harvest, seed time, harvest. They thought in terms of a circle. But the Bible shows time as a line, L-I-N-E. Every event leads to a goal that God has established. A timeline has very much helped me. It will help you too. I want you to be able to draw such a timeline for yourself. Let's look at the line in your notes. The last triangular marker points to the year 2000 AD. This is when we live. AD stands for Anno Domini, which is Latin for Year of the Lord. That is how years have been designated in English for centuries. With the turning away from God, many people are now using the initials CE for Common Era. The first triangular marker points to the year 3500 BC. BC stands for before Christ. We know that people started to use an alphabet and to write around the years 3500 to 3200 BC. The next marker points to the year 2000 BC. Do you know who lived then? Abraham, A-B-R-A-H-A-M, and Sarah, S-A-R-A-H. And who lived at approximately 1000 BC? David, D-A-V-I-D. David, who killed a giant and later became a king of Israel. Now, add a marker for 1500 BC, between 2000 and 1000, halfway. Who lived around that time? Moses, M-O-S-E-S. What do we know about the time shown in the beginning of the line, where the line is interrupted? Adam and Eve lived then, A-D-A-M-E-V-E. Cain and Abel lived then, C-A-I-N and A-B-E-L. And there was a worldwide flood, F-L-O-O-D, in which everyone except Noah and his family died. We don't know how many years there were between these events, so there is an open space in the line. Point 4. The years on this timeline are rounded off to make it easier to remember. Our goal is to have a general idea of how events relate to one another, not to have scientific accuracy. The fact that scientists still argue about the exact year when these things happened. The exact dates are not that important for us right now. If you study further, you can learn more about them. Between the lives of David and Jesus, several other important events took place. They can be added in the future. If you know this much, just what I've shown you today, you already know a lot that will help you. I think it's really important to have this clear in your mind. So I ask you to find time to draw this scheme 2 times every day for the next week. Yes, 2 times every day. Draw 3 short dashes followed by a long line with 3 dots and a marker to indicate the end of time. Then write in the year and who lived in then or what was important in that period. It will help you to quickly organize a lot of information later on. Point 5. We will continue with this topic in the next video. For now, consider what you can do to help yourself grow in understanding what we talked about today. A. Reread the notes. You will absorb more if you read them 3 times, but at least do it once more. B. Read Genesis 6 to 10 to prepare for future lectures. Take a sentence or two and ask yourself as many questions as you can about what is or is not stated. It's not important if you ask silly questions, it still helps you notice what's there. Practice drawing the timeline of history 2 times every day for the next week. It will get the pattern lodged in your mind. D. Discuss the ideas presented today and your reaction to them with someone you know. Can you see how this is broadening your understanding? Then there are questions in your notes that will help you think further and discuss things with your friends and acquaintances.